Hey guys, hope you are all well. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about accountability and actually like taking ownership of your own goals and making sure you are acting in alignment with these goals, because I think it's really common to be like, yeah, I want to achieve XYZ, like this is really important to me, I'm going to do this, and then actually not acting in alignment with that goal. So we're going to talk through how to hold yourself accountable and also how to start kind of building things up. It's something that's known as habit stacking, and it's a really straightforward way of actually like starting to implement little things that are going to help you move that little bit further forward. So first thing is taking ownership of your own goals. So it's all well and good saying, yeah, this is what I want to achieve, but you know, if you're not actually clear on what you need to do to move you forward towards that goal, the likelihood of you actually hitting that goal is not going to be great. So what you actually need to do is, if you've got a goal and you're really, you know, set on that goal, make sure you are actually taking ownership. Make sure you are clear on what you need to do, you know. Get someone that can hold you accountable to that. Make sure you are, you know, tracking your progress. You're actually bought into moving forward towards that, because at the end of the day, like if you aren't taking ownership of that goal, if you aren't set on achieving that, you know, you're not going to be doing the things you need to do to move yourself forward. So you need to make sure basically your actions align with your goal, right? So if you've got a goal, say for example, you want to lose, I don't know, say 20 pounds, you think, right, okay, yeah, I could really do with, you know, I want to get a bit leaner, I want to feel a bit more comfortable in myself. And I'm just saying this is a generic goal. Obviously not everyone will have a fat loss goal. But if you want to kind of make progress towards that goal, if you are going out like drinking at the weekends, you know, you're eating out kind of multiple times over the week, you're not getting your training in properly, or, you know, there might be a couple of days where you're like, you know, maybe you don't track your food properly, or you don't actually hit your step targets, you are then not acting in alignment with that goal. So it's just kind of, if you want to make the progress, you have to be really clear on, right, this is where I want to go. These are the actions that I need to be taking in order to move me forward towards that goal. And then it is literally a case of being consistent and actually, you know, respecting yourself enough to be like, okay, right, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do in action in order to move myself forward towards those goals. And something that you can start doing, you know, if you've got something that is maybe a little bit new, and you know, I had this, remember when I first started getting into kind of bodybuilding a little bit more seriously, I found it really difficult in the early stages to actually like stick to the things that I was meant to be doing, and it can feel really overwhelming, especially at the start. So a really good way of actually starting to build it up is doing something known as habit stacking. And a really good book that I would recommend reading is Atomic Habits by James Clear, which goes through this in a lot more detail. But it's basically having a cue to go and action something. So, you know, if you say, right, I'm going to go to the gym more, okay, that's such a generic goal. Whereas if you say, okay, right, I'm going to go to the gym at this time on this day, and I'm going to do this session, it's so specific. So, you know, it's making sure you've got a cue as well, what is going to allow you to go and do this thing you need to do. So it might be something like getting out on a walk and getting more steps in. It might be, you know, doing more like gratitude, or doing a little bit of daily planning. It might be getting to the gym, you know, more frequently. Whatever that may be, it's going to be so different for everyone. But, you know, if you've got a cue, it's basically like a trigger. So it might be like a certain time. So something that I do that I found really hard is I started writing like weekly emails, and I kept like not writing these emails. And what I did was basically I set a day and I set a time, and I put it in my calendar. So that was a cue for me, because I knew, right, every Wednesday at 7 a.m. I'm going to write this email every single week. So it's really specific. You've got a trigger because you've got a day and you've got a time, and I know that that is the day and that is the time, regardless of whether I feel like it. I know that I need to get this task done. So you can approach that in the same way with kind of your training goals, you know, whatever you need to do in terms of your meal prep, your fitness goals. If you can use a trigger, and a time is a really good way of doing that, because it takes away that current feeling of emotion, and it actually gives you a trigger to go and do this thing that you need to do, whatever that may be. So time can be one of them. Location can also be one. So for example, before I go to the gym, I go and sit in the kitchen and I get my logbook out and I write my session down and I drink my pre-workout. And that for me, like getting in that headspace, it like, that's the cue for me to, you know, get ready and then go to the gym. So sort of having that as a thing can be really helpful. Or then a preceding event. So this is something like if you're getting up in the morning, you might get up and the first thing you go and do is brush your teeth. Like that's just a habit that's built in because it's just something that, you know, you do. As soon as you get up, you might, well, not everyone does this obviously, but you might go and brush your teeth. So having sort of these things that are led into by a preceding event. So it might be, for example, every time I sit down and have my dinner in the evening, I'm going to make sure I spend 5 minutes putting my food into MyFitnessPal the next day, if you are tracking your food, for example. Or every time I brush my teeth before bed, I'm gonna say 3 things that I'm grateful for. Like that, it's like a preceding trigger. So it like, when you do one thing, it triggers you to do the other thing. So it can be something that's really helpful if you're trying to build in like a new goal or a new task, is actually think about adding it onto something that you already do. So that thing you already do acts as like a trigger to go and do this new thing, because it acts as like a reminder and it makes something that you are trying to build in so much easier to build in when you habit stack it on top of another habit. So just as a quick summary, taking like ownerships of your own goals, making sure what you say you do actually, making sure that what you actually do is in line with what you say you want to do or your goal. And then also using habit stacking as a tool can be massively, massively helpful.